Peace and blessings. Hetapu. Greetings to all those who have gathered and congregated. In the name of our enlightened ancestors, the Shepsu, the Gungun, we give thanks to the universe. We give thanks to Nabetcher for creation. We give thanks to Nater, to Aser, for enabling us to grow, to become God-men and God-women. We're going to work on this, and we're going to call upon the name of some great ancestors according to the Afrikan Ancestral Manuscript, which brings back these ancestors to life on a day-to-day basis from January to December. Today is March 9th, 2022, and we're going to talk about the great Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was known to be the richest man to have ever walked this earth. Mansa Musa was known to have been a great sage and a great king from ancient Mali. Now we got to understand, ancient Mali was a great civilization in its own right that grew out of ancient Ghana. Ancient Mali started off with the great king Sundiata Keita. The Keita means king. Keita was a lineage of kings who ruled over ancient Mali. And every king had a Djeliba. Djeliba was the storyteller, the griot. I'm going to be your griot for a time immemorial, telling you stories of our great ancestors so that you can realize your greatness. Mansa Musa is mostly remembered for his great Hajj. Hajj is a pilgrimage. The great Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, with 100 camel loads of gold, each weighing 300 pounds. 500 servants, each carrying 4 pounds of gold staffs, thousands of his subjects, as well as his senior wife, with her 500 attendants. Mansa Musa and his retinue gave out so much gold that they depressed its value in Egypt and caused its value to fall. Now we've got to realize that in the time of our ancestor Mansa Musa, gold was like water. Gold was in a great plurality. And gold, there was a plethora of gold in ancient Mali. So, Mansa Musa made his pilgrimage to Hajj. Attention should be focused on the effects of this Hajj rather than a pilgrimage itself. The Hajj, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, it planted Mali in men's minds, and the riches fired up the imagination as El Dorado did in later years. In 1339, that's a long time ago, brothers and sisters. So even before people were embarked and tortured and kidnapped and torn across the Atlantic in a ma'afa, this is what this brother was doing. In 1339, Mali appeared on the map of the world, and in 1367, another map of the world showed a road leading from North Africa through the Atlas Mountains in North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, into the Western Sudan. In 1375, a third map of the world showed a richly attired monarch holding a large gold nugget in the area south of the Sahara. That's the great Mali, the great Malinke people, founded once again by Sundiata Keita, whose name has been spread far and wide through Disney because he was the Lion King, the original Lion King. Yes, you're right. They stole that story too from Africa. The Lion King originally was Sundiata Keita, one of the ancestors of Mansa Musa, the richest man that ever lived. Now let's go on. Mansa Musa, Mali appeared on the map of the world in 1367. Another map showed a road leading from North Africa through the Atlas Mountains into the Western Sudan. In 1375, a third map of the world showed a richly attired monarch holding a large gold nugget in the area south of the Sahara. Also, trade developed between Egypt and Mali, and it flourished. Mansa Musa brought back with him an Arabic library when he came back from his Hajj, religious scholars, and most importantly, the Muslim architect al-Sahili, who built the great mosques at Gao and Timbuktu and a royal palace. Now let's not get this twisted. These were all forms of African architecture, just like Lalibela, Great Zimbabwe, the pyramids. We go to Timbuktu today and we can see the wonderful mosques, all built in shining shape even up until today, and with the fractals of the African sages. So this was divine geometry. Let's not get it twisted. Okay? Okay, so we said Al-Sahili, who built the mosque in Gao, Timbuktu, and also the royal palace. Al-Sahili's most famous work was the Chamber of Nyani. It is said that this style influenced architecture in the Sudan, where in the absence of stone, their beaten earth is often reinforced with wood, which bristles out of the buildings. So let's picture the great architecture of Mali, and let's think about the great man, Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa strengthened Islam and promoted education, trade, and commerce in Mali. The foundations were laid for Walata, Jenne, and Timbuktu becoming the central cultural and commercial centers of Western Sudan. And I would even venture to say, they were the centers of the world in that time, eclipsing those of North Africa and producing a black literature in the 15th and 16th century. Diplomatic relations were established and ambassadors were exchanged between Mali and Morocco, and the Malinke students were sent to study in Morocco. For the 47 years between the time of the death of his grandfather's brother, Sundiata, and Mansa Musa's access to the throne, Mali endured a period of political instability. But when Mansa Musa ruled for 25 years, he brought about great prosperity and the age of gold of ancient Mali. The age of gold. Imagine this. Remember, gold back in the days of ancient Mali was like water. So he brought on the age of gold, and he was the richest man to ever live. Now think about this when they tell us African people are bound to be poor and our continent is bound to remain miserly. That is not a fact. We had the richest man that ever lived, and we will refurbish ourselves with our spiritual richness to grow again. 25 years he ruled, bringing great prosperity to Mali. Mali achieved the apex of its territorial expansion under Mansa Musa. Let's say with pride, Mansa Musa. That word has the term man in it, and he was definitely a man and a half. The Mali Empire extended from the Atlantic coast in the west to Songhai, far down the Niger River, the Niger Bend, to the east, from the salt mines of Tagaza in the north to the legendary gold mines of Wangara in the south, in modern-day Burkina Faso, the land of the upright people. Okay? So it spread. Mansa Musa transitioned to the ancestral realm in 1337. That's when he transitioned. So think about it. 1337, before the transatlantic kidnapping and torture and maafa of our people. This is what we were doing. We were not just running around naked, doing crazy and ignoble things. We were walking with Mansa Musa to Hajj in Mecca. We were building great buildings in Timbuktu, Gao, and not to forget the great library of Sankaore that till this day, if you go to Mali, is still standing and still has books of knowledge of our African ancestors. Like we said, Mansa Musa transitioned in 1337, and he brought stability and good government to Mali, spreading its fame abroad and making it truly remarkable, both for its extent and for its wealth. Both for the extent of its wealth and the striking example of the capacity of the blacks for political organization. Let's reflect on that again. The stunning ability and capacity of black people for political organization. So when they say we cannot organize politically, let's take a look at Mali. And let's take a look at the great civilization and how it originated, how it lasted, and the great people who governed ancient Mali, such as Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa spread the truly remarkable rulership and political organization. He was without contest one of the greatest sovereigns of all time. Now we're saying not one of the great sovereigns of Africa, one of the great sovereigns of Middle Ages. We're saying one of the great sovereigns of all time, Mansa Musa. So let's reflect on that name, reflect on the energy, say the word Mansa Musa, say the word Mali, say the word Malinke, say the word Sundiata Keta, Djeliba. Let's say all these African words to impregnate our consciousness with the African ways of being. Once again, our great ancestor who was born on this day today, March the 9th, the great Mansa Musa, ASHE.